Okay. Hello, everyone. Sorry for the slight delay, but welcome to GDG Johannesburg and GDG Pretoria's joint Firebase month event. We decided to do this just after our Day Fest. We had the Firebase session that most of us enjoyed, and we thought it would be beneficial if we could carry on with the theme and introduce more content which is relevant to us as a community. And with that being said, welcome once again to our event today. So next slide. Okay, so what is a GDG? A GDG is basically a Google Developer Group, and we like to learn and share most of the technical technologies that you see on the screen there. So it's anything technical basically, but we mostly focus on the what our community indicates to us as an area of interest, and we on a monthly basis host activities and events. And for this month, we are going to be concentrating on Firebase. But in future, you're more than welcome to suggest any topics or any areas of interest that you might see necessary. So this is the Firebase month. We will be having this series every Wednesday from 6 to 8. And you can catch up on all the events on our meetup page. And we will be showing some of the details on our the Twitter handles. So if you want to follow us, you can follow us at GDG Johannesburg for Johannesburg and GDG Pretoria. And our hashtag is GDGJHB for Johannesburg. Okay, so our code of conduct is very simple. We would encourage you to just agree with the code of conduct. This is what makes us work efficiently. So for starters, we encourage everyone to be nice, to just be positive, share ideas positively and constructively. And we have put up our guidelines there. You can see them on your screen. If you'd like to know a little more about our guidelines as a community, you can visit the developers guidelines page that's on the screen. And we do have an anti-harassment policy. Please do take note, and just always bear in mind that something you could say or do can have a negative impact, which is not what we stand for in the community. And if you want to contact us, if there's any issues that come up which are related to the code of conduct, or if someone has violated you, or if you pick up something, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can reach out to us on the email address that's on the screen, gdgjohannesburg@gmail.com. Okay, so again, we would like to welcome you and to thank you. Thank you especially to everyone who's made time. We know that this is almost year end. Everyone is starting to focus on closing up projects, finishing stuff that you need to do. And so we'd like to thank you all for coming. And with that, we'd like to thank the sponsors who always show face and always support us. Luno, you all know this is a very common name on our sponsors. Thank you very much, Luno. JetBrains, continue to thank you every time that you show face and support us. You're supporting the community. OfferZen, DVT, Google, thank you guys. And thanks for actually taking part in our event today as well. So if you want to be a speaker, this is very simple. And remember, for you to be a speaker, you don't have to be some expert or, someone who writes protocols, or you could just have the interest, and you're more than welcome to join us and become a speaker. You can just get in touch with us. You can write an email to gdgjohannesburg@gmail.com or gdgpretoriasa@gmail.com. So you're all welcome. It's the interest. There's always an audience for you. Okay, so over to you, Mbali.
Thank you, Nomsa. Hello, everyone. My name is Mbalendle. And basically, I'll be taking you guys through the rest of the slides. And so with GDG, we've got Women Tech Makers. And this is a Google initiative where we encourage women tech makers to be more visible in the industry and in the community. And you can also access some resources that will assist you in your tech journey. So to become a member, you can go to www.womentechmakers.com/membership. And this is where you can access some really cool resources. You can also be part of the broader Slack group where you can interact with other women tech makers globally, basically. Then we've got Twitter. You can always tweet us. You can tweet us on at GDG Johannesburg and at GDG Pretoria. And some of the hashtags that you can use, hashtag GDG Johannesburg, GDG JHB, and WTM JHB. And we might have some prizes for some of the people that tweet. So we do encourage you to tweet. Cool. So today's agenda, we started off with the welcoming just now. And then we'll hand over to PJ, who will be talking about the state of Firebase in 2020. Then after that, we'll have Shannon, who will talk about using Google Analytics 4 at Luno. Then we'll have a closing, we'll have a feedback form for you guys, and we'll then close off the event. Cool. Then talking about the feedback form, towards the end, we'll ask you guys to please fill in the feedback form, and I'll show this again later on. Cool. We can jump to our first item on the agenda, and that will be PJ talking to us about the state of Firebase in 2020.
Hey, how's it going?
All good, all good. And yourself?
I'm well, thank you. Yeah, I don't know if you can see my screen.
Not yet. It's coming through.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Can I get started? Cool, awesome. So thanks everybody for coming out today and coming to listen to a talk, and for GDG Johannesburg for inviting me to come and speak today. It's really, really great, the initiative that they're putting out. And today I'm going to be speaking about the state of Firebase in 2020. So this is like an overview of what's new in Firebase in 2020, and all the things that have happened throughout the year. I'm Peter John Welcome, and if you want to tweet at me about my talk or about anything Firebase, I'm at PJ Apples. So just a little bit about me. I'm a freelance engineer, and I focus on Android and iOS development. I do a little bit of Google Cloud, I am a Google Developer Expert for Firebase, so I do a little bit of Firebase, and I do enjoy every now and then tapping into some machine learning. So I do a little bit of that, and I've done some talks around that. Two things about me that's random. I have a podcast where I talk about mobile development, may it be Android, iOS, backend for mobile, or even machine learning on mobile. So if you want to listen to that, I'm talking with Apples. You can find it on all streaming platforms. And then another random thing about me is that I really enjoy photography, especially wildlife. So this is just a picture that I took, I think it was last week, of some baby eagle owls that were in a tree close to my house. So two things that are just random about me. And yeah, but I mean, you guys are not here really to know about me. You want to know about Firebase. So let's jump straight into it. So Firebase started in 2011/2012, and Firebase was a product that was trying to solve the problem about having data in a database and being able to stream it in real time to your application. So if you had an Android or iOS app, you literally could have the Firebase SDK, and you'd be able to stream the data in real time with a real-time database into your application and across devices. And that was the major product that actually brought Firebase up, and it was something that people were kind of attracted to. But in 2020, Firebase looks a little bit different. So Firebase now has 18 products that falls part of its product suite, as I would say. They have it in three categories. They have the bold category, which is pretty much for people that are developing stuff. So the databases, machine learning, cloud functions, all of that is under the bold category. Then we have the quality category, where they provide tools that help you increase your quality of your application. And then they have the grow category that provides a whole bunch of tools like Google Analytics, remote config, and these tools help you grow your business, make a success of your business, and help you with great metrics to actually grow your product that you might have on the store. And recently, we had the Firebase Summit last week. And Firebase, one of the things that I took out of that was a great mission statement from the Firebase team. And I thought this was really, really cool, which was help developers succeed by making it easy to build and operate apps. And that includes mobile apps, but also web apps. So this is Firebase's mission in order to make it easy for us to build applications these days. Software development is still a hard thing where we're trying to solve complex problems. But if we can have tools and we can have products that are helping us to actually make it a lot easier to get to production, a lot easier if you're a startup, or just helping you grow your business or maintain quality within your business. That's what Firebase is trying to do with its suite of the 18 products that it has today. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going through a few of the products or tools that have recently come out in Firebase that I think is quite prevalent for 2020 and for developers out there. There's a lot more that I could say, but I have a limited amount of time. But I'm going to start off with the Firebase UI emulator suite. So this is a suite of emulators that the Firebase team has created that allows us to do Firebase development on our local machines. So as you can see over there, we have on my left, it could be your right, could be your left also. We have our Android emulator, our iOS simulator, and our web applications. And the Firebase emulators that are available is the authentication emulator that was recently announced, which is great. We have Firestore, we have real-time database functions, hosting, and PubSub. And what these allow you to do is for you to spawn up a local version of the Firebase emulator of either the database or your authentication, so you can actually do local development instead of trying to access your database in the Firebase console. So some of the benefits around the UI emulator is, like I mentioned, you can access your databases offline now. So everything is just run straight up through your machine. You can develop locally, and then you can obviously have those changes be put into your database in a production environment at a later stage. The other thing that we can do is that now we can actually run end-to-end tests on our CI. So the Firebase emulator suite can be containerized, and Firebase does provide containers for that. And you can actually now run end-to-end tests and actually test your Firebase logic that you might have with one of these emulators. So this is a really great tool if you're out there and you're thinking, okay, cool, like I need to maybe have some kind of layer that is like some kind of fake layer, or I need to test with a production database to make sure that things work. You don't need to do that anymore. The UI emulator helps us with that. It obviously helps in increasing productivity so that you don't have your teammates maybe changing something in the database that you were kind of also working on, and then all of a sudden you see different changes in your database. So productivity, it's easy to import and export data. You can also now write unit tests for your security rules using the emulator, which is amazing. And the best part of it all is that testing now doesn't contribute towards your quota on your Firebase database. So if you're out there and you're on the free plan, or you're even on one of the paid plans of Firebase, your quota now won't be eaten up by you developing your application, because you can develop locally. So this is really something that's really, really great, and is benefiting a lot of developers already that use Firebase. So just to jump in a little bit of Android code quickly, we have some dependencies over here that I'm just going to show you an example of how this works on Android. We have some dependencies here. Something that that Firebase is doing over here is that they're using this new bill of materials. So this where you see the implementation platform, that is one version that pretty much holds all the versions for all the Firebase libraries. So as you can see, the dependencies below that actually don't have Gradle versions anymore, because it all gets fetched from the version above. So it will just fetch all the latest versions of all the libraries that you have. So if you're into that, if you like having specific versions for specific things, then maybe specify a version and not use this bill of materials. But if you always want to be on the latest, you can actually just use this dependency over here. And what this will do is we'll pull all the latest versions of anything that's com.google.firebase and then Firebase in front of it. So this is just something new that Firebase is doing, and it's really, really cool. So you can go check that out in the documentation. And to set up an emulator, you have to run it in this the Firebase CLI. You kind of have to just set it up there. So the documentation does that well. But it's just a few lines of code within your Android application that you need to add. So you can add the host, which is going to be localhost, because it's going to be on your local machine. And then you'll have Firebase.use emulator, which you add the host and you add a port. So you can change the ports. So you have to specify a port that it's actually going to be running on. Each emulator, so if you have the Firestore emulator running, or you have the Auth emulator, they all run on different ports. They don't just run on one. So you kind of have to specify a port there, also what it needs to connect to on your local machine. And then you kind of just say, you have to set persistence to false, because Firebase has like a caching layer where when you make a request and you kind of offline, it kind of like caches those things. And then eventually when you get back online, it will then push those changes. So for consistency of data, you could have some kind of like cache there. So this would be a great, this is where you kind of need to just turn this off so that it doesn't get confused about the data that it needs to be pulling from the real database or the one that's on your machine. And that's pretty much it. That's all you have to do to use the emulator in your Android application. So the next thing I want to chat about is Firebase hosting. So Firebase hosting is something that I don't use quite often, but I feel like there's been a lot of movement and a lot of changes within Firebase hosting that can benefit developers quite a bit. So this is something that I definitely feel that in today's world for web developers, this is something that's really great. So the things that I want to highlight here is that recently at the Firebase Summit, they released something called preview channels. So preview channels is a channel like a development environment that allows you to see your changes, and you can deploy to this specific environment, this preview channel environment, before you just deploy to production. So previously you would just kind of like deploy your website, whatever, to straight to the production version of your Firebase hosting. But now there's actually preview channels, and this is something that's really cool, where you can actually look at your changes, give the URL to your testers that can test something, and then from there you can then promote it to then using the production environment to give it to all of your users. So this is something that's really, really great, and I think that this is something that's going to be used a lot from a lot of developers. I do also hope that some kind of like development environment though does come for mobile development also. So hopefully there's something happening there with seeing this on Firebase hosting. Second thing is that the Firebase team also wrote a GitHub action. So if you're not familiar with GitHub Actions, it's a CI/CD tool that GitHub provides that's inside of GitHub. And they wrote a GitHub action that allows you to then deploy your Firebase website from your pull request or whatever. As you merge a pull request or whatever, you can use this action to actually then deploy straight from your pull request, where you don't need to go do that manually or do that in your CLI, or write even a completely different script or job to actually promote your code by yourself. So there's a new GitHub action. Definitely go try it. It's really, really cool, and GitHub Actions is cool. So I think that's why the Firebase team chose to write one. And then there's cloud logging for better monitoring of your application. So I mean, if you're out there and you need to figure out like how many users are using my application right now, or how many people are using a specific version maybe of my website, maybe it's a cached version and then there's a different version, or you're looking at some kind of logging. There's cloud logging now that's part of Google Cloud, and there's definitely better stats that you can now get on your website within Firebase hosting. And there's a lot more changes throughout the year, but these are the ones that I wanted to highlight because I feel like these are the ones that are quite important to day-to-day development. So it's preview channels as a development environment, GitHub Actions as being able to deploy, and obviously just being able to monitor your website on a daily basis or whenever you need to do that. The next thing is Firebase Performance. So Firebase Performance got a nice new redesign on their dashboard, and it came with a few new really, really cool things. So we obviously have the dashboard over here. This is the new dashboard, and this is what it looks like. If you are using Performance SDK, you might see that the graphs look a little bit nicer. They're a lot more smoother. And then you'll see on the right, am I right, maybe your left, on the right-hand side, you will then see that there are these metrics on the side over there. And what's nice about this is that you can customize these metrics that display on your dashboard to any metric that Firebase Performance is pulling in. So previously, you kind of just had these had these metrics, and you had to kind of like find them somewhere. Now you can actually put these metrics on your dashboard, and you can customize this for yourself. So this is really great if you feel that app startup time is something that is important to you, and you want to see it improve over a couple of days or whatever, and see that, then you can pretty much add that as a metric. Or if you want to see response times to Firebase storage, you can see that obviously it's green, so it's getting better when uploading images or something like that. You can also then, there's a percentile thing where you can see how a percentage of your users, 85% of people are getting better start times for that. So you can actually do that, and then you still have the date that actually gives you a nice good timestamp of I want to see over 10 days versus I want to see over a month. you can then view the metrics there. And you can still dive deep into your metrics as previously with the Firebase Performance SDK. This is just a new redesign of the dashboard where you can then customize everything to what you would like. Next up is Firebase Crashlytics. So Firebase Crashlytics didn't get too much of an update in terms of the Crashlytics itself, but Firebase Crashlytics now can be streamed into BigQuery in near real time. So this is something that's really, really cool, because sometimes you would wait for the crashes to actually come through, and you would kind of like, there was like weird ways to like export your data. I felt like I didn't always export. You can't just go to the dashboard and figure it out what's actually happening there. But now you can actually export your data to BigQuery, and you can then run custom queries, SQL queries on your specific data. So this is really, really great now, because this can help with a lot better reporting, a lot more better filtering of specific crashes. This will also help you. Let's say you only want to see crashes on iOS 14 or Android 11. You can actually then now filter that through BigQuery, which is really, really great. Something that I also like that someone did a demo of was you can now do cron jobs on your cloud functions that then give different reports at different times. So you can do reports on crashes like you would on any kind of data set in BigQuery. You can now do that on your Crashlytics data also. So that's really, really great. And you can then have reports going out every single week through a cloud function. So that's really, really nice. And then you'll also now be able to visualize your data however you want to. So the Crashlytics data that you see on the dashboard and their graphs, you can now visualize it however you want to, because the data is in BigQuery, and you can obviously write custom queries to see whatever you want to see, and then maybe stream that to a different kind of like visualization if that's something that you're interested in. So this is something that's really, really great, and I think that this is something that a lot of people might start using too. And then we get to Firebase extensions. So Firebase extensions is something that's really cool. It came out last year at the Firebase Summit, so it's technically a year old now. But if you haven't heard of Firebase extensions, they're pretty much prepackaged solutions for common problems. So if you've ever uploaded an image to Firebase and you want to then create a thumbnail version of that specific image. So if somebody opens up your app and they register and they put a profile picture of themselves, then at some point you might use a cloud function to then rescale the image and then put that as a thumbnail version inside of cloud storage. Well, Firebase has these Firebase extensions that already do some of these tasks for you. So like I mentioned, resizing images, exporting collections to BigQuery, triggering emails, and a whole bunch more. And recently at the Firebase Summit too, they then released 2 new extensions, which is detect online presence. So if you have a game or you have anything where you need to know exactly that someone's online at the time, I'm sure if you're like a Steam, if you use Steam for gaming, you know that you can say that someone is online or offline or whatever. This is something that you can use this extension for. And then they also partnered with Stripe. So Stripe, unfortunately, obviously is not really supported in South Africa, but Stripe is a payment company that do payments, and they have a subscription feature that is now part of Firebase as an extension. And this is really something that's really great. And the reason they could do this, the Stripe team could create this, is because all the extensions that Firebase has created are open source. So you can go look at the code, and you can also create your own extensions. So if you are keen to create your own extensions, or you want to create one of these prepackaged solutions, the Firebase team encourages everybody to definitely go and do that, especially if your company wants to do something like this. And then there's a few honorable mentions. So some of the things that I found was still important, because there's so much that happens throughout the year that we can't keep up with everything. So a few things that I think are really important to a lot of developers out there is, if you are still using MLKit or if you were using MLKit or you are still using MLKit and you haven't moved away to the standalone SDK, because Firebase right now has now deprecated MLKit from Firebase and is now Firebase Machine Learning, where Firebase Machine Learning is only focused on cloud-provided machine learning that Firebase provides. So that would include the Vision Edge and hosting of your TensorFlow Lite models. So all of that is in Firebase Machine Learning, versus MLKit now is its own standalone product. You do not need a Firebase project to use MLKit anymore. And we obviously advise that you move to the standalone product, because the Firebase MLKit is not going to be getting any kind of updates anymore. So you'll be stuck on a specific version. So please definitely move over to the latest version of the standalone product there. Then something that I like, because I like DevOps, is I really like Fastlane. So if you've ever heard of Fastlane, it's a great automation tool to help automate your deployments, or even just tasks in your CI or whatever. And this is something that's cool that the Firebase team worked on, is that they created their own their Fastlane actions to help you deploy your apps to app distribution. So if you are using Firebase, you can actually upgrade your implementation to use the Fastlane action, which is something that I like. It's really, really cool. And it's part of the Fastlane package now. So definitely go and check that out. Something else that's pretty important is that if you're still using the Crashlytics version that uses the Fabric SDK, your streaming of your crashes won't actually be shown anymore after the 15th of November, because that's also going to be deprecated. So if you are using Crashlytics in your Android or iOS application, definitely make sure that you do migrate to the latest version of Crashlytics, the new one, because otherwise after the 15th, you pretty much won't have crashes streaming in, and you'll think that your app might be doing really great on the App Store, but then your customers might not be feeling the same over there. So that definitely make sure that you do that. And then there's a bunch of new code labs for Firebase. So there's a C++ code lab now. So if you're a game developer and you're using C++, and you actually want to use Firebase, there's actually an SDK now. There's a code lab for you to go and figure out how that works. And there's also now one for Flutter. So all the Flutter developers out there that is looking for resources on how to integrate Firebase into your application. This is there's great material now online at Firebase Summit. Also, there was a great talk by two of the developer advocates and how they did a zero to hero Flutter talk, where they pretty much took a thing from scratch, an application from scratch in Flutter, and they built it using Firebase, the Firebase Firestore database. So definitely check out that content. And then lastly, I would say is Firebase Firestore now supports not equals queries. So if you've ever used Firestore, you probably have seen that you can't really do a not equals query up until recently. So this is something that has been massively asked for in the developer community, and a lot of people have been really, really happy to see this change and this syntax now part of the Cloud Firestore Cloud Firestore SDK. So these are a few honorable mentions, and there's a lot more that happened within Firebase throughout the year. I couldn't obviously get through all of it, but these are the things that I felt that was important, and I thought that it would be great information to relay to everybody. So at this point, I feel like this is the state of Firebase, moving from just being a real-time database to having all these products and all these things that are actually making our lives a lot better. So for some resources, if you want to go check out Firebase and a whole bunch of other things, there's the Firebase documentation. I have some samples on how to use the emulator on Android and iOS, so you can check that out on my GitHub. And then obviously Firebase is open sourced. Most of the products are open source. I think there's probably only like 3 of the 18. I could be wrong, but 3 of the 18 that are not open sourced. But most of Firebase is open source. So even if you want to contribute to Firebase, you can do that. There's the Firebase YouTube channel. I've linked some of the code labs. And then obviously Firebase, the Firebase Summit, there's a whole bunch of content there. And Firebase throughout the year, in the beginning of the year, we're doing these kind of meetups. And then they had a Firebase Live event also, where they had a whole bunch of meetups with over about a 4-week period. So I've linked that over there if you want to check out that content. There's a lot of stuff to do with unit testing, about the emulator, about authentication, and all of that. So definitely check that out. And thanks so much for having me. I hope that you do go out there and definitely try out a bunch of these products. And if you want to get in contact with me again, I'm at Pajapples on Twitter. But yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, I'm here to take any questions.
Yeah, thanks a lot, PJ. And whilst we wait for questions, it's pretty interesting. You've got a podcast. How often do you put up content on your podcast?
So I strive for an episode every 3 weeks. But my last episode, I've been my editing has got a bit of a backlog at the moment. So it should hopefully come out sometime soon, maybe this week, the next episode. But generally every 3 weeks there's a podcast episode. So yeah, definitely check that out.
Oh, thanks a lot. I can see there's lots of shout outs. Lots of people appreciate your talk. Just looking out for questions. Carlos says, please share the slides. Okay, Carlos, we will definitely make the slides available to you. It's interesting how...
So I'll definitely put them on Twitter. I'll put them on Twitter. So if you just go to @Pajapples, you'll have the slides will be there later on, hopefully.
Okay, and we have a request for your podcast details. So we'll be able to share that as well. And I'm sure if you follow PJ, he has shared his Twitter handle, you will be able to access all of those details as well, but we'll also make it available. So there's a question there. Do you ever work on projects for companies or individuals? What tech would you use for a full stack experience for something like Uber?
Yeah. So that's interesting. So I mean, I feel like Firebase is a really, really great product. I think it definitely can scale because Firebase is backed by Google Cloud at the end of the day. So it can scale as big as using something that where you just use a cloud provider, like Google Cloud, and you want to create some kind of like maybe app engine or put in something in Kubernetes. You can definitely do that. I think it just comes down to your preference, and I think it comes down to the skills that you have available. I think Firebase provides great SDKs and great tooling for an application, for mobile applications and also for web applications. But I think if you do want to scale a lot more, then you maybe want to go for a different solution. If you want to do something like where you have, 100 million users, and you want to do something on the cloud rather.
Okay, I'm just laughing here at a comment there by Pamela. She says, that sounds like an interview question, but thanks a lot for the question and for the answer. Mari has a question here. Are there any limitations on what can be done with emulators?
No, so thanks for the question. There is no limit. So it's pretty much exactly the same as using the console. So if you were using the console to do updates to your application with a real-time database or with Firestore, it's literally a replica of that. Obviously, in a talk that I've given a talk about the emulator specifically. So you can check that out. I have it on Twitter somewhere. But at that, the emulators themselves should never be used in production, because you can containerize it. People might think, okay, cool, I can actually take this, containerize it, and maybe use it for myself, and put it in production. But I don't obviously recommend that, because Firebase is again backed by Google Cloud, so they have the scalability. They know how to do load balancing really well. They have all of the infrastructure that is needed. So it's pretty much just a replica. So there is no limits. There's no limitations on how many queries you can make, like you would have if you had to be on a free plan or something like that. And you can obviously do authentication also now, which is really, really great. And yeah, I mean, it works really well. I've used it quite a bit. I don't actually develop against a real environment anymore, unless I'm actually putting something in production. I literally use the emulators for day-to-day development. And it's really, really great for CI also.
Okay, then we have thanks for your answer, PJ. We have another question there. Last question. You feel free to ask many more if there's time. Aren't you worried about vendor locking when using a full suite of solutions from one provider?
So remember with Firebase is that you don't need to use every single product that Firebase has. You can mix and match. So you can use something you can use Firebase real-time database and let's say Cloud Functions, but then you can use maybe something on Amazon for their machine learning, and you can actually connect to that through Cloud Firestore. You can use different products for Crashlytics if you want to. So you're not actually tied in. Each product is an individual product. But again, if you do use all the suite of products, they obviously have benefits over them. Well, they have a lot more benefits. So at the end of the day, if you're using Crashlytics, then you have BigQuery. If you have analytics from Google Cloud, from Google Analytics, then you can obviously use Firebase predictions, or you can use remote config that can help you there and actually give you really, really great stats. So you aren't locked into anything. You can use them individually, but I think there are benefits to obviously using all of the suite of products together.
Okay, thanks, PJ. We have another question from Carlos. I have problems to catch errors on my Android app using Crashlytics, especially when ProGuard is activated. Some information is obfuscated. Do you perhaps have tips for Crashlytics?
So I definitely think there is a way. I'm not really sure about the answer. I don't want to give you an answer, so maybe just reach out. But I think there is a way in the Firebase documentation somewhere where you can get the obfuscated Crashlytics data. So I know from an Android perspective, I definitely know from an iOS perspective, you definitely can do that. But from an Android perspective, I would need to check. But I definitely think there is a way to get the data or some flags that you can set. But I'm not really sure right now, so I don't want to say there is a way. But thanks for the question. Definitely reach out and I'll see if I can help with that.
What's interesting, thanks for the answer, PJ. I come from a networking background. In most cases, you'd only find out you had crashes when you have a major one. And when you're trying to go through the logs, you then find a lot of crash document, like crash information. So this is really cool. I wonder who comes up with these cool names, Crashlytics. Anyway,
Yeah.
looking up for more questions. Don't seem to see any, but a few comments. Yeah, someone says, okay, your ProGuard is a headache. Thanks. Okay, lots of thank you messages there. So thanks once again, PJ. Those who want to reach out to PJ, remember his Twitter handle is PJ Apples with a Z.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Right. So we are way ahead of time, and we'll be moving on to the next part of our program today. And next up, we will be having Shannon. Shannon is a data scientist. She's the data girl. She's going to be telling us a lot more about Firebase and how to use the how to merge data science and the data side of things with Firebase. Shannon, feel free to introduce yourself and elaborate a lot more. Are
Hi.
you ready? Okay. Great.
Perfect. Let me just share my screen quickly. Can you see my screen? I'm going to take that as a yes. Cool. So I'm Shannon Sass, and I'm a data science associate at Luno. And today my title for my talk is From Events to Insights using Google Analytics 4 at Luno. So Luno is a global cryptocurrency company, and Luno makes it easy and safe to store, buy, and learn about cryptocurrency. And today I'm going to speak about what's new in Google Analytics 4. I'm going to introduce the data model and give a description of our new feature, which we just launched, which is called the BTC Savings Wallet. And then I'll just go through the process that I use to derive insights. And the actual flow that I'm going to be focusing on as an example today is the Enable Savings Wallet flow. And then I'll give a demo in GA4 of the funnel analysis. If you don't know anything about cryptocurrency or Luno, don't worry. I'm just going to use it as an example to show the process that I go through. So to get started, what's new in GA4? So prior to GA4, you would have your Google Analytics account, and that's basically just a folder. So within this folder, you can have different properties. So you have the Universal Analytics property, and that was a web-only property. So a property is something where your online data gets stored to be used for Google Analytics. So for Universal Analytics, it's the traditional one that most people have been using and know about. And then you also have Google Analytics for Firebase properties. So this is for your app data. So before, there was no easy way to combine your web data streams and your app data streams. And this made reporting quite difficult for analysts. So now we have Google Analytics 4 properties. So this has replaced Google Analytics for Firebase, and it is the future of Google Analytics. So you can still have your Universal Analytics property, but going forward, when you create a new property, by default, it will be Google Analytics 4. And this allows you to have all your web and your app data in one place, and you can do roll-up reporting across platforms really easily. So just to go through some highlights, this is the new version of Google Analytics, and it was released on the 14th of October, so very recently. They used to call it App Plus Web, which was the beta version. Fun fact, they renamed it because it was very confusing. A lot of people thought that you need to have an app and a website as a product in order to use the App Plus Web property. But that's not true. You can use Google Analytics 4 whether you have just a website, or if you just have an Android app or an iOS app, or you have all three. It uses an event-driven data model. I'll speak a bit about that just now. And this allows for cross-platform reporting, and everything uses the same event schema now. So if you think about Firebase Analytics, where it's event-based, then now with web, you use the same schema, which allows for the cross-platform reporting. You can also do cross-device reporting. So in Google Analytics 4, you have the cross-device reports for all of your reports, whereas in Universal Analytics, you only had it for some reports. And the reason why is because your user IDs that you can send, so on each event or with your app when somebody logs in, you can send your own user ID, which identifies your customer. So if they log in on 2 different devices, then you know that you're looking at the same customer, and you can dedupe that customer. So instead of counting them twice, you count them once. And GA4 now allows you to do this with all of their reports, which is really, really cool because it also combines your given user IDs with their own measurements. So for example, they would use something like a device ID. So if somebody is not logged in, you can also use the device ID and then fall back on that. The next thing that I'm going to actually be showing you in the demo later is this analysis hub. So this is really awesome because before in GA 360 with Universal Analytics, you had to pay for this. Whereas now with GA4, it comes for free, and it's a really awesome tool because you can do advanced analytics, which you couldn't do before. And the last thing just to mention, but I won't go into it in much detail, but it's enhanced measurement on web. So GA4 now also allows you to do enhanced measurement, and this is through the use of GTag, where you can basically automatically track your page views, you can automatically track scrolls on your page, and click on links. And this allows them to say, you know, it's less work required from the devs in order to implement these events, which is really cool for the devs. So talking about the data model, Universal Analytics uses a session-based model. So what that means is that all of your events that happen get grouped into a session, which occurs over a period of time. So for example, here I've got a search and a play event, and this customer did these events over a certain amount of time, and this gets saved as a session to the model. Whereas with GA4, it's an event-based model. So each event or user interaction with your site or your app gets logged and stored in the data model. So this allows for more flexibility because you're focusing on events rather than sessions. One thing also to note with the Universal Analytics versus GA4 is that Universal Analytics had category, action, label, and value parameters. Whereas with GA4, you have key value pairs. So for example, if I wanted to log, you know, somebody viewed content on my site, then I would be limited in Universal Analytics to category, action, label, and value. Whereas in GA4, I can set my own parameters, so my own key value pairs. So for example, I can set the article title, I can set the article ID, the content type, and all of those are key value pairs that I can send to GA4. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the BTC Savings Wallet. So BTC Savings Wallet essentially allows customers to earn interest on their Bitcoin. And an essential part of this new feature is the enabling BTC Savings Wallet flow. So this flow allows customers to actually add their BTC Savings Wallet to their account. So just think of this as a wallet that a customer is trying to add to their list of accounts that they have with us on our website or on our app. Now, the process that I would go through in order to derive insights from this is product will request a new feature to be added, and in this case, it's the BTC Savings Wallet. Data and product will communicate and gain a deep level of understanding of what we want from this product, why we're introducing it, and what we want to achieve. So our different success metrics and how we want to measure these. Then in this case, I'm specifically talking about the digital analytics side of things. So there's a lot of different questions that could be asked, but I'm focusing specifically on digital analytics. So I would receive the fundamental flows from design. So in this case, the BTC Savings Wallet flow, and then I will define the events to be implemented so that we can answer our key business questions. Once I've defined the events, the devs will then implement them across platforms. So in our case, we have a website, we have an Android app, and we've got an iOS app. And then the devs will go and implement these events. And once they're implemented, I can then go and analyze them in GA4. Once I've analyzed them, I will then feed back insight to product. And then depending on the insights that I find, we'll make certain changes to the flow in order to optimize it. So that's the general process. So now from problem to approach. So what are we actually trying to achieve? What's the goal? So my goal is to enable the product team to provide the best customer experience possible. And in order to do so, we need to answer a few key questions. So thinking again specifically on enabling Savings Wallet. When we look at the actual flow and how customers move through the journey, we want to be able to know, what percentage of our customers actually complete this flow, how quickly do our customers complete it, and where are the pain points? So, are customers taking really long in one section and dropping off, or are they moving through it easily and quickly with no troubles? So the best approach that I found to do this is a funnel analysis. So I found that a funnel analysis is ideal for a fixed flow where you have a set number of steps and the customer has to move through each of these steps in order to actually achieve the key goal, which in this case is enabling their wallet, so adding a wallet to their account. So now I'm just going to walk you through the designs. So these are the designs that I received, and in the first one, we've got our wallet. Sorry, let me just hide that. So in the first one, the customer's looking at their wallet screen. So an example of an event here would be a screen view. So this is specifically an app event. And the name of the screen that you can set is Firebase screen. So we've called this the wallet screen. And the next step that the customer would take is to add a wallet. So they would click on that card, and we call that a card click event. And the name of that is add wallet. And we have a product group parameter as well, which is just called wallet, which is useful for grouping our reports or our events. So once a customer clicks on add a wallet, it brings up a bottom sheet. So in this case, the customer can click on, any wallet that they want to. They don't have to go and click on BTC Savings Wallet straight away. They could add another wallet that they don't have. So for example, Ethereum. But here, what we're interested in is the BTC Savings Wallet. So they select the BTC Savings Wallet to add. We call that a bottom sheet item click event. And you can capture any additional parameters that you want. So in this case, we've got an account type, which is savings, a currency type, which is crypto, and then the actual currency of the savings wallet, which is BTC. And then you click on that, and you go to the first guide screen. So once you've had that bottom sheet item click, you go to the guide screen, and the screen view event will fire. So at this point, customers have shown that they're interested in adding their wallet. So this would be the first step in our funnel. because I want to measure how many people, once they've said they're interested, actually go on and complete it. So this is called the Add Wallet Savings Guide 1 screen. And at this point, a customer can click next, or they could swipe to the right, or they could click cancel, or just exit the app, right? But because a customer can click next or swipe, we're not very interested in the button click event here. So we're actually interested in the screens. So the next screen is Guide 2. So here would be our second step in the funnel. And this basically just tells the customer, you know, how can you earn interest? And again, they've got the option to click next, to swipe right, to swipe left, or to exit. So say they go on to the third step. So now this is Savings Guide 3. And from here, they can get started. And if they click Get Started, they'll go to the Terms and Conditions screen. So this is one screen. I've just put two separate designs here just to indicate that in order for someone to go onto the end of flow screen, which is the next screen, they have to actually check this tick box and then click I agree. So I haven't added the check event, but what I've got here on the left is a button click event, and I've called it accept T's and C's. So when they click on agree, it would fire off a button click event with accept T's and C's. And in this case, the value would be 1. If they clicked on cancel, the value would be 0. And if they click on I agree and they've checked the box, then the success parameter would be 1. So now we know everything's good. They didn't have any problems. They went straight through. If the success parameter is 0, then it means that they didn't check the box successfully and they didn't go through. And then if it's null, that would only be the case when they click on cancel. Okay, so the customer goes and they check the box and they click I agree. Then they get to the end of flow. So this is the final screen. And at this point, it's a celebration screen. They have added their wallet. So they've successfully completed the key customer journey to add their savings wallet. So now I'm going to just show you demo. Just exit. So I'm going to show you what it looks like in GA4. So this is the new reporting platform. There's this analysis section here. So under Explore, Analysis Hub is what I was referring to earlier. And this is really an awesome feature that they've added. And there's a whole bunch more that you can do besides funnel analysis. But I'm going to just be focusing on funnel analysis today. So I've created this funnel already. I've added the 5 steps that I was interested in. So as I mentioned, I wanted to know from the first guide screen to the end of flow. And in order to, derive insights from this, let's look into it. So step 1, I'll just hide this to make it better to see. So step 1, we've got Add Wallet Savings Guide 1. And the time period that I've chosen is the past week, so Sunday to Sunday. And we have 20,000, well, 19,200 customers approximately entering the first guide screen. So if you hover over here, it says 19K, and that's the number of people that actually went and had that screen view event. So from there, we can look at, okay, well, how many people actually went to the second guide screen? So you can see that 93.3% of customers went from step 1 to step 2, which is the second guide screen. And 6.7% of customers dropped off, so they abandoned. And if you look in this first row, you can see that that's 6.7% represented here, and this 93% represented here. So the completion rate plus the abandonment rate should give you 100%. And the abandonment rate is what we are, obviously really interested in. Before I get there though, the first question was, what percentage of our customers actually add their wallet? So in this case, you can see that 61% of our customers that started this flow actually completed it. And this is what we want to optimize, right? We want to make it as easy as possible for our customers to move through our flows. So the next thing to look at is the elapsed time. So how long does it take to get from the guide 1 to guide 2, from guide 2 to guide 3, etc. And elapsed time is an average time. So if I have somebody who takes 24 hours and somebody takes 1 second, it will take the average of that time. And one way to make this more meaningful is to actually go into the settings where you add your steps, and you can say that you want the time to be in a certain range. So for example, I don't want people to take more than 5 minutes to go from guide 1 to guide 2. I think 5 minutes is more than enough time to move between screens. So if I change all of these between each step to 5 minutes, and I apply that, then you'll see this time obviously decreases because you've gotten rid of the outliers. So just wait for it to load. Cool. So it decreased a lot, right? I mean, it went to seconds from minutes. And it's really useful because you can expect, your customers are moving through an app. It's not something that should take a long time. And what we can find here that's interesting is the time between add wallet savings terms and conditions screen and the end of flow add savings wallet. So this is 30 seconds, which is almost double between is double between 1 and 2. And that shows, maybe customers are actually reading the terms and conditions. I don't know if people do that, but maybe they do, which is great. But it also means, we could spend some time actually summarizing those a bit better and make it easier to read. And then people would spend hopefully less time on that. And then the last thing I wanted to point out was the abandonment rate. So what really stands out is this 27.81%. So at this step, at the terms and conditions screen, we've lost 27.8% of our customers in this flow, which essentially means that people, they've gone through guide 1, they've gone through guide 2, guide 3, they get to the terms and conditions screen, and at that point, they've got an interest to get to the end of flow. So this is something that we can work on and we can improve. And it might come down again to the whole terms and conditions. It's a lot of content, especially in an app. So that's, yeah, I just find it funny that people reading the terms and conditions. But yeah, so that's the flow. And what else can I tell you from here? I wanted to show you the different types that you can do. So I have another one here, which is a trended funnel. I was hoping it would have been loaded already. No. Okay, let me just show you here. So you can change the visualization. So if I change this from a standard funnel to a trended funnel, you can actually see your funnel over time. So the one disadvantage usually with a funnel is that you can't actually see how it changes easily over time. But here I've got the changes over the past week. So if you look from the 25th of October, you can see that we had 654 customers completing the flow. And if you look on the 29th, this increased to 2.8K. So maybe it's because, it's a Sunday. If you look at the following Sunday, it's around the same number of people completing the flow. So we would then look at a larger time period and see the trends week on week. And it could also be because people got paid on the 25th, and then they decided, they want to get earn some interest and add their wallet. Where's the settings? So that's the trended funnel. Other things you can do here, just go back to standard, is you can make it an open funnel. So in this case, it's a closed funnel because people can't enter at different steps. So if I make this an open funnel, it shouldn't change anything because you can't actually enter our flow at different steps. So if you look, it's the same numbers. What else can I tell you? There's breakdowns, which you can do. So for example, I can add age as a breakdown. And it will break each step into your customer base. So for example, here we've got Add Wallet Savings Guide 1, and 5,245 of these customers are between the ages of 18 and 24. And then you can see the breakdown for each of the steps. And yeah, that's funnel analysis in GA4. So thank you very much. Any questions? I've also just added some resources here at the end to show you if you're interested. It's a bunch of blogs by people who are really good in the digital analytics space. And then there's a course by Skillshop, which is really awesome. It basically just introduces you to Google Analytics 4. And I don't have a second screen, so I'm going to exit so I can see what's going on here.
Thanks a lot, Shannon. We do have a question. So Tash is asking, how do you deal with checkbox events when a user checks and unchecks multiple times?
So the event would fire every time. So when the person checks the box and when they uncheck it, and you can just pass through different values for your parameter. So for example, you could have, a parameter called checked, and it can take the value 1 if it is checked or 0 if it's not.
Okay, thanks a lot, Shannon. Our next question is from Brittany. Do you have any tips for someone starting out with GA4?
Yeah, I would just get started. It's like brand new. A lot of people are, getting used to it at the moment. There's a lot of blogs coming out. I'll definitely go and read those blogs, by Charles Farina or Krista Seiden. There's some other ones, Ken Williams. Really, really awesome blogs which just help you, understand GA. And that course that I found, it was actually recent by Skillshop, which is a Google Analytics course for Introduction to GA4.
Okay, awesome. One great thing is that GA is actually free, right, Shannon?
Yes.
The tool
Yes.
itself is free, and we can't underestimate the value of data. Data makes you know what's behind. It makes you, it gives you the capability to strategize and to see what's actually what you're strategizing on. So, thanks a lot for actually showing us the example of what you go through. And I actually liked how you can switch your visualization from the standard to the trended funnel. That speaks to
Yeah.
different people, and you're addressing different sets of people in an organization, if it is an organization. So thanks for sharing us that. And for those who actually want to know a little more, you could just Google GA. We're on GA4, so if you want something that's specific, you can go ahead. It helps you with, as you saw, Shannon showed us how to do your data visualization, your reporting. It's real time, and you can target your attributes, your metrics, and your audience. So that was fantastic. Thanks a lot. Looking out for more questions here, Shannon, if you can.
Just
All
to say
right.
in the meantime, one thing that I wanted to mention that I forgot with the trended funnel is that it's really useful for looking at, your percentage of completion. So, for example, if you change something in order to optimize your journey, then you can see how that changes over time. So you can see, maybe less people are abandoning at a certain point in the funnel, or more people are completing the funnel, which is really awesome.
Yeah, that's very valuable, especially for a startup. You'd want to know what every single change has, what effect it has on your user base. So again, we have lots of
Yeah.
thank you messages. Thanks a lot, Shannon, from Carlos. Thank you. Wow, that was amazing, from Constance. Great talk. Great talk, Shannon. Someone's asking for your Twitter handle. Tashinga is asking for your Twitter handle.
I don't actually, but you can find me on LinkedIn. You can look up Shannon Sass.
Okay. So thanks once again, Shannon. For those who want to reach out, you can find her on LinkedIn. And I think with that, we are pretty much done. Thanks a lot, Shannon. That was really great. And PJ, I know you're still somewhere on the call. Thanks a lot for your talk. We've had two great talks kicking off our series this month, and looking forward to a lot more. So I know everyone is so excited when they get to hear about swag and stuff, but we always use this opportunity to get feedback. So today we would like you to use the QR code that's on the screen to give us feedback. Feedback makes us thrive. It makes us know where we're going wrong, what things we can change. And feel free also to always reach out to us at any point if you've got suggestions or any specific feedback. But today you're going to use the QR code on the screen, and I'm going to give 5 minutes for you to scan the code. If you cannot, you could just copy it. I'll also make sure we copy and paste it onto the chat section. And we'll see you after 5 minutes. Stay with us, because two lucky people are gonna be leaving with some Absa swag. Okay, so see you in 5. Okay, guys, we're back. I hope you've had a chance to fill in the feedback form. Remember that feedback is very important to us. It's important to us as a community. So we're looking forward to more feedback. And just to make sure we get more feedback, right now we're going to be giving away two gifts from APSA. APSA will be giving away 2 swag mystery gifts. So we're gonna pull up our randomizer and find the 2 lucky people today, but it doesn't end today. So what's gonna happen is you've got 24 hours to give us feedback. If you haven't done so, we'll keep the QR code. We'll keep posting it in the chat section, and you can keep giving us your feedback in the next 24 hours. And after that, we'll be able to give away 2 more vouchers from JetBrains just to thank you for your feedback. So I'm just gonna go backstage for less than a minute so we can set up our prize winning application, and then I'll be back. Okay, folks, so thank you for waiting for us. So in the back end, Pamela was assisting us with drawing up the prize winners. So today our winners are Cameron Green. You will be winning an APSA swag mystery gift, and the second winner is Azile. Azile, you'll also be winning an APSA mystery gift. For the rest of you who are still logged on and still with us, keep on giving us your feedback. In the next 24 hours, we'll be announcing 2 more winners who are going to receive 2 JetBrain vouchers. So thank you once again for sticking around with us and learning and sharing. This is what the community is all about. We're all here to learn and share and to grow together. So we'll see you next time.